Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips, he teach buying Tims and killer tips. Buyer, sellers, wheel and deal. Real stories, keep it real. Snack a bargain, flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.
I'm here with Becky Park. She's a mom, a wife, a teacher, a YouTube star, and she's a reseller. This is going to be episode number 4. My first 3 episodes have all been full-time eBay, Poshmark, whatnot, the rest resellers. I wanted to get a part-time perspective because even us full-timers were part-time at one time, so it's kind of good to show people like the part-time schedule and struggles of being a part-time reseller as well. So what got you started in reselling? Because I always like to start at everyone's beginning. So what got you started
Yeah.
reselling?
My husband and I, we had our first child. I think she was like 2 or 3 at the time, and we were living in a house that was like slightly too expensive for us. Like we were both teachers, and the mortgage payment was like a little outside of what was comfortable. And I just remember like doing lots of random, like trying out lots of different side hustles and being like, let's see if we can make more money. And I did like teach piano and voice lessons, and I don't know, like I just did lots of random things. And then I remember like hearing my brother talk to me in passing about Poshmark and about how you can buy like used luxury goods on there. But, I'm not like living in the world in Gucci and Prada and all that stuff. So I just kind of dismissed it. But then I saw ads for it, I think. And my husband and I had just like some clothes that we weren't wearing anymore. I took it to Plato's Closet, and they were like, we can take these 3 things and give you like 40 cents for each thing. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take everything back because that's so insulting. And it was a lot of like New with Tags J. Crew and Banana Republic and, very kind of career oriented clothing. And so I remember like looking at this bin of clothes and being like, there's got to be somewhere I can take this where I can actually make money off of it because it's good stuff. And then I like remembered seeing stuff about Poshmark, remembered my brother telling me about it. So I like listed a few things on there, sold something. I think it was like a pair of my husband's shoes within like the first 2 weeks. And I was instantly hooked. And then I just tried to like Google, like, how can I sell more stuff on Poshmark, and just looking for tips and stuff. And that's when I found YouTube. And I don't think at that point I even knew people used YouTube as a resource to like learn how to do things. Like in my head, it was just like entertainment. But I started watching all this YouTube content about people who were supposedly making a full-time income, selling on Poshmark. Like it was crazy to me. So that was kind of the beginning. It was December of 2017.
I kind of have a similar experience with Plato's Closet. I
Yeah.
don't sell clothes at all. Well, I
Uh-huh.
do if something really good falls in my lap, but I don't go targeting looking for clothes.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I used to buy storage units. And
Mm-hmm.
every time you buy a storage unit, there's always multiple trash bags or totes full of clothes. And I drag them into Plato's Closet, and then they'd buy like 2 things out of it. And at that time, now I know enough about clothes to be a little dangerous. Nothing
Yes.
like you do, but
Yeah.
so I would just have a yard sale. I'd dump them all on tables and be like,
Yes.
all the clothes are $1, and I had no
Yep.
idea what was in there. So
Yeah.
I had a similar experience with Plato's Closet.
I mean, Plato's is probably responsible for many resellers now, like
Yeah.
a lot of people took their stuff there and they're like, I can do this myself. And they did. So,
So you started to kind of just cover some extra household expenses,
hmm
and then obviously you started documenting all that on YouTube.
yeah.
S- Uh, so what's your goals now with your reselling?
Well, it's really interesting because with kind of everything that falls under the umbrella of, I guess you can just call it side hustle or just whatever. Reselling is definitely a component of that, and that's what started everything. And then with that, like you said, I started a YouTube channel. I do some affiliate marketing for different companies, and with and then just like some like brand deal or like sponsorship type stuff. With all that combined, like I found that I was in a position where I'm making more money, like double the amount of money I make from teaching. So like teaching is kind of like, at least monies wise, like my side hustle, And so it really kind of, like at first it really was like I just want us to be comfortable. Like I don't want to freak out every time we have to pay the mortgage, or if anything ever pops up, like the heater goes out or whatever. And it used to be such a source of stress for us, like just any little thing could really kind of set us back. And we like to live without having any like credit card debt or anything like that. And so we just didn't want to be in a position where we felt like we um didn't have the means to pay off all the things that we were supposed to and all that. And then as I kind of just stayed on this course, like it kind of turned into a lot of different things. So I feel like my goals for my reselling income have changed throughout my journey. It really did start off as like, I just don't want the stress of not knowing if we can pay for everything. And now it's kind of evolved into like, just being in a position where our kids can do the things that they want to do. Like my daughter does club volleyball, which basically they just rob us of money like all the time. And we're just like, oh, so all of our money is gone. My son does competitive gymnastics. My daughter did gymnastics too. Like these are just expensive things. And I really think we would have been in a position even like just 5-7 years ago where if they had wanted to do those things, we would have had to look at them and be like, we can't afford it, like that's really where we were at. So I think that feels really good. And then just being able to be like as generous as possible with my parents and my mother-in-law, like being able to take them on trips and, just do different things for them. Like that's kind of always been the goal, is to set money aside for that kind of stuff.
So walk me through a day. I know since you're a teacher, are you on summer break right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously your schedule is a little different currently
Hmm.
because you're on summer break.
Yeah.
So here in a few weeks, you're probably going back to school. My wife's actually a teacher herself.
Oh, wow. What does your wife
So
teach?
she teaches third grade.
That's amazing.
So
Doing the Lord's work.
she has next week off and then she goes back to school.
Is she a year-round school?
No, they have what they call like a balanced calendar. So
Yes,
she
yes.
gets
Okay.
2 weeks at fall break, 2 weeks at
Yes.
Christmas, 2 weeks at spring, and then I think 8 weeks at summer is I think
That's
how it
my
works. So
dream. I would actually prefer that schedule, I think.
they tried to change them a couple of years ago, and a bunch of the
Yeah.
teachers were mad because it's always
Yeah.
nice at like fall break. We can
Mhm.
go away for somewhere for a week, and then she still has a week to come home after vacation and just
Yeah. And
relax
it's
before
not like
going.
the busy season. There's not a ton of people wherever you're
Mhm.
trying to go.
And then on spring break, we do the same. We'll go somewhere
Mhm.
for the first week, and then the second week, she just still has a week off from
Yeah.
just doing nothing.
Oh, that's amazing.
So walk me through when school starts because I want to encompass like the day of like a part-time seller who has to juggle being married, having kids,
Mhm.
and all the responsibility that comes with that with your full-time job that pays less than your part-time job,
Yeah.
and then reselling every day. So walk me through like your schedule when school's in session.
Yeah, so I teach high school choir. Most days I have rehearsal before school with my a cappella group. We meet at 7, and then school starts at 8. And then every year my schedule changes a little bit as far as like how my daily schedule is constructed with my classes. But every year within the schedule, there's like uh, I have a prep period, I have a lunch, and then I have like a study hall, which is actually really nice because I don't have to teach anything. Like kids are just in there doing their homework. And then I have like a hall duty station or something. And so I or study hall is not every semester, but anyway, so there are like periods in the day, like usually a 50-minute period where I can try to like get some listing done or something. And that's usually my goal, is like try to do like 5 listings during like my lunch or something, like that way it's kind of already done before I'm done with school. But I have my school day, and then, if I have like performances or something with the kids, and I have to obviously do that, but usually I'll come home. Some kid has something, there's like either volleyball or gymnastics or something. So if I have to go to one of those things, I'll go. But usually I'll try to bring my laptop with me and try to knock out more listings or editing or whatever it is that I have to do on the laptop. And then it's hard because there's not really like a set schedule, because it's whatever, I'm at the mercy of whatever my students have going on as far as performances and rehearsals. I'm at the mercy of my own children and their schedules. So it's really like anytime there's a second, I just have to whip out the laptop and try to get stuff done. And I have to be a little bit more strategic about like planning out times to film for YouTube and things like that. But I oftentimes like YouTube is the thing that especially at this stage of my life gets like shunted to the side more often than not if like the kids want to hang out or if they I just have to be really flexible. I think that's kind of probably the biggest difference between part-time selling and full-time selling is like, and especially when you have kids and a family and a job, like you don't have the luxury of being able to say this is my schedule, like this is when I list, this is when I ship, this is when I, because those things are constantly getting interrupted. And so the only like thing I know is a must and that I will do no matter what is sometime in the evening I will ship, that's like the
Yeah.
only guaranteed thing that I have. Usually try to wait for the kids to go down, or my son likes to try and help, which means it's going to take 2 times longer, but like he just wants to be there with me, but that's like the only guarantee I have. Other than that, the schedule really is fit in what you can when you can, and whatever doesn't get done, you just deal with it the next day.
So I saw a picture of you that you posted on Facebook the other day of you listing at maybe like a volleyball game or some kind
Yeah.
of kids event. So walk me through your listing process because everyone lists different.
Yeah.
And when I mean listing, I mean how you list, on what website do you list, or do you list through your cross lister? Walk
Mhm.
us through how you list because obviously you're not taking pictures at the volleyball game. So
No.
obviously you took pictures at some other point to list later. So
Yeah.
walk walk me through your listing process.
Yeah, so I am one of the OGs with List Perfectly. That was like one of the first cross listers that came out, and I've just been with them ever since. And as they've evolved, I feel like my listing process has evolved. And so now what I do is I'm in my reselling space right now, and it's just like a unfinished part of the business of the basement where I have all of my clothes and bins, but also everything that needs to get listed, and I have like a light box. So I will take pictures of items within List Perfectly, so they're not like on my camera roll. So basically, you like start a listing on List Perfectly, you take pictures within it, you edit your photos within it because I'm extra and I like to do like the bright pictures and the white background and all that. So I do all that within List Perfectly. But once the pictures are in there, then they're like saved in List Perfectly. And if I have internet access anywhere or a hotspot, then I can list wherever. But I'll take the pictures, I'll at that moment weigh the item, I'll have like the SKU for it, I'll bag it and I'll put it away. And even though it's not listed online, I have everything that I need for the start of the listing. I'll also put in there like how much I paid for the item, where I got the item, just so I can keep track of those kinds of things. And then yeah, when I have time, I will take that listing with the pictures. List Perfectly has like the AI stuff, so you can like push a button and they'll basically create the listing for you based off of the pictures that you took. I'll scan it just to make sure like nothing's crazy, make a couple edits. I'll comp it out, put in a price, and then I push it out from there to like 6 different platforms. I sell primarily on like eBay, Poshmark, and then I get like a handful of sales from Depop and Vinted. Um, I list everything over to Whatnot, so I do actually get a handful of Whatnot Buy It Now sales too. Actually, maybe I just listed. Oh, and Mercari. I don't even know why I list in Mercari at this point.
I feel the same.
Mercari is such a waste of space and energy and time, but I do it because it's fast. Like it's fast to cross list over there, and I like my $20 a month I get from them. I guess so. Yeah.
I use Nifty, which is
Yeah.
the competitor, and they have all that too.
Hmm.
But I found it may be different for clothes. I found since I just list a variety of so many different things,
Yes.
I don't use their listing tool because
Yes.
it's harder to make a listing with AI if there's some tiny model number on the back of it. And so and
Yeah.
then I still have to go to eBay and get my comp. So I would
Yeah.
typically list on eBay and then I sync them in the Nifty and then I cross list from there. But
So you do
you
like
gotta,
sell similar.
I do a sell similar
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
So, but I could see the benefits if you're mainly a clothing seller of using
Hmm.
AI lister because as long as it has the brand name, it's going to be able to identify what style shirt or what style pants and make it. But
Yeah.
if I'm listing a Milwaukee drill, it's not going to know the model number by just the picture because there's 15
Yeah.
different model numbers for different. So
Yes.
the AI stuff isn't currently to the level of where I can use. I'm hoping it is one day, but right now
Yeah.
I'm faster
Yeah.
with the sell similar.
For
So
sure.
you mentioned that you cross list on different platforms. Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I think they're like favorites for different things. It's so funny. I mean, right now, probably my most dependable platform is eBay, which is shocking to me because when I first started reselling, I just started on Poshmark and I think I tried eBay like 6 months into my reselling journey, messed up the shipping horribly, was like, I'm never going to do this. And my handle still is on Instagram, Becky Park on Poshmark. And that was like my YouTube channel for forever. Like, I was just like, I'm never going to cheat on Poshmark. Like, I'm never going to stray and go to anyone else because it was just so easy. But you can't argue the fact that eBay just has such a bigger audience. And when I finally put on my big girl pants and was like, I need to try this again, like, this is where the money is, you know? Yeah, now it's definitely shifted and eBay is generally my top performer. I mean, Poshmark is so easy and I like it for that. I am really enjoying Vinted right now. I'm not seeing the same level of success that other people are seeing over there. Like some people are like, I sold 200 items in 8 days and I'm like, "What are you selling?" Like I don't understand. But I mean, I'm selling like 3 items a week and I am thrilled, you know, but yeah, like it's been really easy. I don't think that what they're doing over there is sustainable. Like they have no fees and free shipping. And I'm like, so they're just bleeding money right now. So I'm benefiting from it. But at some point, things will have to change over there. And I wonder, you know, if things will be the same. But I'm enjoying Vinted and everywhere else is kind of just like nice extra cash that comes in, you know, but probably eBay and then Poshmark are still my top two.
Poshmark shipping is definitely way easier, especially if you're just getting into the game. But
Yes.
uh, from talking to other resellers, there's rumors that eBay may go to a similar style shipping, kind of like
Yeah.
Mercari and Poshmark has
Yeah.
based on weight range. And once you master eBay shipping, then you kind of love the flexibility of it and how you can
Yeah.
change stuff. And so experienced sellers are up in arms about them changing it because
Hmm.
once you get used to it, you know all the little tricks and how to save money and
Yeah.
make a couple bucks here and there on shipping. So
Yeah.
for beginners, Poshmark and well, Mercari's easy too in shipping, but you're probably not going to sell them. If it wasn't
Yeah.
for the cross lister, I would not put anything on Mercari just because
No.
I have over 7,000 listings and I'm lucky
That's
to get
crazy
one or
stuff.
two a day. Like, so
Yes.
I could just imagine being a part time seller who I don't know how many listings you have, but I know it's not 7,000 because you got more stuff on, you got more
Yeah.
stuff going on. Mercari would have to be a ghost town, I would imagine.
It
So
is a ghost town. It is, and every once in a while, yeah, I get a tumbleweed here and there, and I'm like, "Okay." But, like, it's still alive, barely, but I don't really get it. I don't know how people find success over there, and some people do. Some people are like, "That's my top platform," and I'm like, "Okay." If you say so.
I know I know a guy who that's his top platform, but I think he has to probably price his stuff a little lower than
Yeah,
because I just use my eBay comp and price it all the way across
exactly.
the board.
Yep.
And I think the people on Mercari like garage sale prices a little bit
Yeah.
more. And so
Yeah.
So this is a reseller podcast. So let's talk about some goals. Do you have like a goal in mind that you try to hit weekly or daily or monthly and sales being a part-timer, or are you just happy to get what you can get in and
Yeah, I mean, I think I I think I shared this with you before we hit record. I just am not generally a very business-minded person, which I'm sure at this point a lot of people are like, "And off." Like, I don't wanna listen to her anymore. But hopefully that's, like, motivating for people who are like, "I'm just not my mind's not really built like that," and mine really isn't, you know? Like, um it is kind of like just get in what you can when you can. I feel often like I'm just flying by the seat of my pants and I'm just like, oh, I sold some things and I got some things up. But in my attempt to be a little bit more business minded and type A and all those things, like my goal for this year, for example, is to hit 30,000 in profits in sales. And as I'm tracking that, I'm not like on track to do that. Like I'm very behind, which is fine. But I think for me, I wanted, and I kind of average around like 25,000. So that was kind of, without saying like, oh, let me free up more time to do more. Like I was basically saying like, I want to hit a bigger number with the same amount of time, if not maybe even less. So, but I think I've been trying to like break that down quarterly as well of like, okay, so that means, in each quarter I need to do this amount. And that means in each month I need to do this much. And in this each week I need to do this much. And I think that's kind of been helping. Sometimes it's discouraging because I'm like, but this week I have no time to do anything, with reselling because it's so busy at work or it's so busy with my kids or we're on vacation or whatever. But I think just like breaking it down more has forced me to, just buckle down and do things when I don't want. Yeah, even like, yeah, Monday and Tuesday, you were talking about the picture that you saw that I posted on Facebook. I had driven my daughter to a volleyball camp and we drove 8 hours one day, spent the night, went to the camp. It was 4 hours and then drove back 8 hours. And I was just like, why did I do this to myself? And then the next day, I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to loaf around, but I was like, I need to like draft some listings. So it's like when you have these goals in mind, sometimes that's the kick in the butt that you need to actually like get up and do something, especially when it is part-time because your livelihood isn't dependent on whether you get these listings up or not. You know what I mean? Like even if I don't push myself, like we'll be fine. We have our two incomes and this is all kind of extra. But when you have those goals, you're like, oh, the only way that I'm going to meet those goals is if I get out of bed and I actually do something. So yeah, I think like it's really just kind of that monetary goal of trying to do $30,000 in net profit, and just breaking it down into smaller segments to see if I can meet that.
So, as a full-time seller and someone who tries his best to teach new people on Facebook, one of my things I preach is listing every single day because everybody knows that, well, everyone who's done this for a long time knows that eBay likes it when people are consistent and try to list every day. Do you dump all your drafts live at once, or do you kind of stagger them out so you at least have a couple things go live every single day? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, there are probably like 2 times in the year where I am at a point that I am slightly ahead and I have listings scheduled out and I'm like really proud of myself, right? It's like literally like 2 days out of the year. Most days it is like, can I get 5 listings up today? And it usually like what I batch is like photographing. So like usually on a weekend, I'll try to find like a 1 hour span, which isn't a lot, but that's usually all I can get to myself. And I'll like draft as many listings as possible, photograph as many items. And then that's kind of what I have to work with throughout the week. The goal is to get 5 listings up a day. I subscribe to that same belief of like, you should try to do something every day. And then when I run out of draft listings, that's when I get to the point where I'm like, I just got to photograph 5 today so I can list those 5 or photograph 5 today to list tomorrow. But I'm always just like barely there. You know what I mean? Like I just don't have the luxury of like scheduling things out way in advance. I remember, I don't know if you know who Kaylee Elaine is. She's another full-time reseller. She does primarily clothing, but I interviewed her for my YouTube channel and she's talking about like she's literally everything is a month ahead. Everything, or maybe it was like 2 weeks, but it was like she would have like bins of stuff and she uses like the drop feature on Poshmark and then schedules out listings on eBay. And everything is, she's always working 2 weeks in advance. And things that are going live that particular day are things that she had listed 2 weeks ago. And I'm just like, my mind can't even wrap itself
I
around
can't do
that.
it either.
Right? I'm just like, what? Like, that's amazing. And I think there was like a week stretch when I was like, I'm going to be like her. And it doesn't work for my lifestyle. And that's fine. Like, I thought that was a really cool model for people who can do that. For me, it really is like, what can we do today? And then the days where I can't do anything, I try to at least like relist one still listing, like I'll completely remove it from all my platforms. I'll go into List Perfectly, I'll recomp it, I'll like look at the listing title, see what things I can change around, and then I'll list it as a brand new listing to all of my different platforms. But there are even days when I'm not doing that, So it's just doing what I can each day, showing myself grace when I can't do anything and moving on.
I used to be on List Perfectly probably 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
at the time they didn't have it. Have they not added a feature where it will do that for you in the background?
So you can just like delist and relist. And like that's what I used to do on Poshmark with Poshmark's feature. That's
Mhm,
what I used to do. I used to end listings on eBay and sell similar. But I
mhm,
think like I would just keep doing that and the listings would just continue to not sell. And I think that's when I was like, I think I need to like look at the listing. Like I think the issue
mhm,
isn't just like the age of the listing. It's also probably the fact that like this listing has been live for however long. Like sometimes I sell things and I'm like, that's been listed for 4 years, like, and so
mhm,
I'm like, I think the problem is actually me. Like the problem is like how much I have it priced at, or sometimes I'll look at a listing and I'm like, oh, like that brand name has been spelled wrong this whole time, like,
mhm, wait, okay.
so yeah. So I think I actually have been finding way more success now that I'm taking the time to like rework the listing rather than just continuing to throw that same listing
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
I see that you're also doing Whatnot and you do live shows as well.
Yeah.
So, when do you find time? Do you schedule your? Because let me think how I want to say this. I haven't. I did one live show like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's
Oh, nice.
something I'm considering dipping my toes
Yeah.
into. So actually, I wanted to pick your brain on doing
Yeah.
live shows because this is something that you're more experienced at than I am. And
Mhm.
I try to have like a limit. Like I don't want to list anything on eBay under 25 bucks, but a lot of my
Mhm.
sourcing comes from auctions.
Yeah.
And I don't know how familiar you are with auctions, but a lot of times like it's like buy this whole tote of stuff and there's one thing in there that's worth 40 bucks that you want to put on eBay. The rest of it, some of it's trash, but some of it's like it's not trash, but you don't wanna list it on eBay, so I thought about, like, maybe running Whatnot shows with,
Yeah.
like, $1 or $2 starts on it. Do you plan your Whatnot shows out in advance so there's time for it to be on the platform and be advertised, or do you just pop in and say, "I'm running a Whatnot show tonight." How does that
Yeah.
work?
I do think obviously there's a lot more success when you can be thoughtful about your approach and you can plan things out and people have the time to come in and bookmark your shows. I think there's definitely more success that way. I have, however, also just like been like, oh, I have a couple hours to go. Like this would
Right.
be a great time to just go live. And people are like, oh, you're live. Um, And I think that's a lot tougher to do at the very beginning just because you don't have an audience, and you don't have this like loyal following who's just like waiting on the platform. Like, is she live? And I definitely don't have that kind of, I think I have like one or two people that like get really excited if they see that I'm on. And the rest of the people are like, oh, I mean, I don't have anything better to do. I guess I'll hang out with you right now. But um, generally, I try to plan things out. One thing I do really like about Whatnot is it's pretty flexible. So if you're like, I'm gonna go live at 4, and then at 4 you're like, no, like I can't, or I don't feel like it," you can push it off. You can be like, I'm gonna go live at 6 instead, or I'll put it off for like next week. And I'm sure there's like a handful of people that get infuriated by that, but also like I think they know like that can happen. And most people who shop on Whatnot aren't really just like waiting there for you. Like it's kind of they're on and they're popping around and they're like, oh, who's on with me? I think too, like people who have a lot of success are the ones who can commit to a weekly, like, I'm always going to go live on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. And like that's just kind of built into their schedule. So they know like if they show up on Tuesdays at 8, like you're going to be there. And I think the people who can do that very consistently find a lot of success with that strategy too. But in an ideal world, I do plan out my shows. I create the shows. They're there so people can bookmark them. And in an ideal world, I show up when I say I'm going to at those allotted times. The problem again is I have children and their schedules often blow up my schedule. And I prefer it that way, even though it gets in the way probably of like me being able to make a few more dollars from reselling. I prefer to be flexible and like be able to run off and do something fun with my kids when they want to do it versus like, sorry, I have 40 people who are going to show up to the show on whatnot and buy things. It's just for me, that's where my priorities are right now. So there is flexibility, but you can kind of do it both ways. Yeah.
So we've talked about your kids' schedule, your work schedule. You sneaking in whatnot shows, you sneaking in listing whenever you can. When do you source? Where do you source? What's your strategy for sourcing?
Yeah.
So obviously you have to have inventory to list, and when you do run a whatnot show, you burn through a decent amount of inventory because
Yeah. Yeah.
where do you find your stuff? When do you find time? How do you walk me through all
Yeah.
that?
So I have two local, like three local consignment stores that I source from the most. And when I go sourcing, I like to go hard. So I'm not popping into Goodwill and coming out with like four or five things. Like I just don't really have the time to do that. And so my local consignment stores, I really like them because they kind of operate as far as their like pricing schedule pretty similarly to Goodwills and thrift stores and things like that, where they have different color tags, and at most times there is some sort of tag that's on sale, and at some point those tags will get clearance down to like 75% off or $3 a piece, and that's usually when I strike, and I try to just come home with as many pieces as possible on those days. um I also prefer consignment stores because you're picking through a lot less trash. Like they don't accept everything the way that Goodwill does. They've already kind of gone through and vetted each item, not just for like, is this thing free of flaws, which sometimes, they're going to miss things, but they're also trying to vet things for, are these items trendy and do people want to spend good money on those items? And so there's a lot like bigger percentage of items that I can take home with me versus when I go to Goodwill and I have to sort through so much more in order to find decent items to sell. Plus, like where I live, I'm just not finding like amazing stuff at Goodwills anyway. Like it's not a very um affluent town or anything like that. It's really a college campus. Um so those three consignment stores enable me when I go to them, like I'm usually coming home with like 50 to 100 items just from that one sourcing trip because I'm going at a good sales time, and I know that even though like they're not the most exciting brands, it's enough bread and butter that I'm able to find good stuff. I also have really great contacts in my town, people who run like estate sales, and so I'll go to the estate sale, spend a lot of money with them, but because our relationship is so strong, like they'll let me buy out any clothing that's left over at the end. Sometimes they'll even just give me stuff for free. Like, so just from spending a lot of money with people, I've built really great relationships. And one of the people who runs this particular estate sale, she'll like give my number to other people. So I just had a lady reach out to me like 2 days ago. She called and she was like, "Hey, I heard you sell clothes." Like I have a ton of clothes. And so, I've made connections that way. Plato's Closet, same thing. Like they'll have their 90% off clearance sales. And when they do, I'll go and just get like 50 to 100 items. So I don't source often, but when I do, I just get a lot of stuff. And I probably miss out on the gems that they do price really well because they don't know the item or brand, maybe at Goodwill or something. Like I miss out on those things every single time because I just don't go. But it's just not worth it for me to spend 2 hours there coming out with like 5 or 6 things that I can resell versus 2 hours at my local consignment store where, yeah, I'm getting mainly bread and butter, like mature mall brands, but it's stuff that I know how to sell and I can get a lot of it at one time.
I'm assuming since you buy and sell mainly clothes, I don't think you sell anything outside of the clothing category, do you?
I mean, I dabble, but me trying to sell like a DVD player is probably the same as you selling like a Talbot's jacket. You're just like, why? I mean, it just takes so much more effort and energy. Yeah. So I have, and I'm like looking at a bin of video games that I got for free, and I'm just like, I don't, I don't want to do it. I know there's money sitting there, but yeah.
So you probably roughly know when you're going through the racks, like, hey, this is this much. I can sell it for this much
Mm-hmm.
without really getting your phone out and looking it up too much.
Mm-hmm.
What is like your percentage wise that you're looking to spend versus what you can get for the item?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, especially things that I'm listing traditionally online, I'm looking to make a $20 profit. Like that's my goal is I want each transaction to result in a $20 profit. So, my average cost of goods is honestly probably around $3 per item. So, if I can get an item for $3 and it's something that I can list for 25, I'm in the general ballpark of, hey, this is an item that I should be able to make $20 off of, give or take, a few dollars. So that's generally kind of my sweet spot is like I'm finding things by very boring brands, but they're dependable brands that people know and trust, and they'll pay that amount for it because they know how it's going to fit them already. There's not like the risk of, oh, it's not going to fit me because they have a closet full of that brand already, probably, So every once in a while, I'm able to find some great pieces that will sell for way more, and I'm going to make more than that $20 profit. And every once in a while, just because it's something that's going to be really easy for me to photograph and list, even if it's going to sell for less than 25, I'm like, I'll just go ahead and pick it up and sell it, even if it's only a $10 profit. But my goal is to try to flip things that will net me $20 or more.
Now, are there instances where like you're at the store you're buying and there's like a jacket that's they have priced at like $25 where you spend
Yeah.
up on like a really nice piece if you
Yeah, I'll do that every once in a while, especially if I'm somewhere and it's not like a $3 tag sale, right? If it's like 75% off or something, I have definitely paid up for things, and every once in a while it pays off handsomely, and every once in a while it actually kicks me it bites me in the butt, and most times it performs the way that I hope it will. Um, Again, it's interesting because where I live, like, there just aren't a lot of those kinds of exciting things, I feel like, but if I come across them, absolutely, and there are certain brands where I'm like, "Oh, this is absolutely worth paying up for," but also I think because of the fact that I don't have as much, um like, yeah, I don't run into a lot of those, like, exciting things very often. When I do kind of get stuck. I'm like, "Ugh, like, is this worth paying $50 for?" Just because it's not something that I'm very practiced with, you know? So I do, like, labor over just, like, looking up the comps, and I'm like, "Oh, is this worth paying?" And more often than not, it is, but it does take a little bit more time that I'm used to spending per item in looking at, making sure that the comps are there, because I don't wanna spend $50 on something that I'm gonna make like $10 on. And every once in a while that does happen. But usually if I pick something up and I pay up for it, it does end up paying off for me.
I'm in rural Indiana. So if I'm out yard selling them, which I don't look at clothes very often, but if there's
Yeah.
like a rack of like nice coats or something, like
Mhm.
because some jackets can be pretty high dollar, and our version of like finding a nice high end brand is like a Harley Davidson jacket or a Carhartt
Yes.
jacket or something like that. It's not
Yeah.
finding a Gucci jacket or something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
our version is find like a nice biker jacket or a Carhartt jacket or something like that.
Yes.
So
And even with that, it's like there is great Harley and there's like Harley that will sell for $50. I
uh,
mean, I literally think at a garage sale, I saw a Harley Davidson, like it was like a set. It was like a top. And I was just like, I don't like, I don't even know how to look this up in a covert way where the person
mhm.
doesn't know that I'm doing, but I think I somehow ended up kind of looking up comps and I was like, oh, they're basically selling this at an eBay price, but it's tough because you don't run into that very often. It's not like your knowledge of, at least for me, my knowledge of Harley Davidson is not extensive enough to just be able to look at something and be like, oh yeah, I could pay $50 for that. But I remember at an estate sale, I paid like $25 for this pair of leather chaps, like riding chaps, or I think they were more like biking chaps, and then they sat in my death pile for a year and a half because I was like, I don't know how to list these. Like there was no
Yeah.
they weren't Harley. Like, I was like, I don't even know if this is good. And I finally like threw it up on Facebook and I was like, can someone help? Like, I don't know how to list this. And people gave such great advice. And then I think I ended up selling it for like 150. But I was just like, I don't even know where to begin. And that's usually why I don't pick up stuff that I'm not comfortable with, because it just sits and it's money sitting there. But yeah.
I was talking earlier about dipping my toes in the whatnot and
Yeah.
kind of what my strategy, what I was thinking, like put my higher end stuff on the buy it now market, and then the other stuff that I just acquire on accident, run
Yep.
those on whatnot. What is your strategy? How do you choose what you put on the buy it now market and what you choose to run and what your whatnot shows?
So again, I'm not like super business minded, but like one thing I personally know I have to stay on top of. Otherwise, if I even let myself slip once, I'm just not going to do it, which would be catastrophic for my business. But like, I always feel like I have to know my numbers really well. And that was kind of the struggle for me when it came to whatnot shows at first, was like I would put together shows and I would just have stuff from all over. And then when the show was over, I was like, how much money did I actually make on that? Like, I don't even really know what my cost of goods was, because there was stuff coming from here, coming from there. And like, and so for me, I think what makes the most sense now is I'll go sourcing with the mentality of everything from the show is gonna, or everything from this sourcing trip is just gonna go on a whatnot show. And I kind of like have to make it where I'm like, I'm not gonna stress out over the fact that like, yeah, like that one item could sell for way more if I were to list it online. I just have to like almost make the sacrifice and be like, everything from this sourcing trip is going over to whatnot, because then the numbers are much easier for me to do. And it also kind of like forces my hand in terms of how I source then. Like, I'm willing to pick up things that I know I wouldn't necessarily pick up for eBay, but I know that they'll do like well enough on whatnot to justify picking it up, you know? So that's kind of how I've shifted in the last year or so as far as sourcing for whatnot. So like I have a rack here and it's stuff from a birthday sale that I went to at my local consignment store. And I just went in with the mindset of, okay, everything from this trip is stuff that I am going to just throw up on whatnot. And so the whole 2 or 3 shows that will come out of this haul, I know my cost of goods really well. I know that there are some items in there that like I really should list online and I'll make more money that way. But bringing those items to whatnot, is more exciting for those people. Hopefully they get bid up. People are like, oh, I'm going to come back because she's like bringing good stuff to the show. Like, so that's kind of been my strategy. And within that, I mean, there are some caveats. Like, right now, I'm not really doing shoes on whatnot, and I did source a bunch of shoes, so I will pull those. And anything that's like really bulky, it doesn't make sense for the buyer as far as like shipping, generally speaking. Like, they can't combine shipping as much, so those things I will pull. But yeah, like I have a couple shows where like everything from those shows will be from this one sourcing day. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. But I mean, I think it makes sense for you to do like, once you've already made your profit on this one tote that you bought at auction, you don't even really have to keep track of cost of goods at that point. It's
No.
just everything's profit, So that's really easy. I feel like for you, I've already made my money on this, and now this is everything's just profit. So that sounds like it could be really exciting and lucrative.
Yeah, most of the time when I buy a tote, if I pay $10 for it, there's a $40 or $50 item in there. So everything else, the cost
Yeah.
of goods is nil.
Yep.
My fear is I don't, you talked about having some better stuff in your show to draw the crowd.
Yeah.
If I'm known to just bring my leftover junk to whatnot, and it's all like 10, not 10, $12 items.
Yeah.
And then another problem is the size, whatnot shipping after you get off. Once you get above like 2 pounds, it doesn't make sense to be in your show. Really, I
Yes.
don't know if people are willing to pay that shipping on top of bidding. Especially now that I heard they're eliminating that $9 flat rate thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of envy
Yeah.
you clothes sellers because
Yeah.
your cost of goods at most. I see the clothes at thrift stores. Most time it's $3, $4. So you could
Mhm.
do a $4 start on an item or whatever, and
Mhm.
anything above what it gets is pure profit. And
Mhm.
this shipping's easy. It's all light for whatnot, but I don't know if I could
Yeah.
get myself to do it.
I think the people
Jump
who
into the
really,
clothes just to do it, you know.
yeah. The people who really have it made on Whatnot are like the card sellers, I feel like,
Hmm.
like the Pokemon, like that, like that's just, it's so lightweight. Or jewelry, like there's a lot of jewelry sellers. That's got to be really great too when it comes to shipping. But yeah, it is tough when you have bigger items and items that are all different sizes. Clothes is somewhat uniform. Like, yeah, you have like bigger coats compared to like a small tank top or something. But hard goods, it's stuff of all different sizes, and that does make it tougher. But I think like one thing I noticed too about Kelsey from Mellow State, like I'll pop into a couple of her shows. I think something that she does that's really smart is she'll run like 10, 20 items that are pretty like a kind of leftovery. You know what I mean? Like they're not like
Hmm.
nothing's like super exciting. And then she'll have one item that's like, oh, like you're starting this at $1. Like this could sell for like 100 something online. And it's still not getting up to the level that it would probably if she were to list it online, but it kind of keeps people on their toes. And it like doesn't allow them to say to themselves, like, oh, she's just bringing garbage. Like, and she's not bringing garbage, but it's,
No.
it's a different tier than like that one fry bag or something. And so I think that's really smart too. But yeah, I think some people do have a reputation of just like they're just bringing, their garbage things. And the goal always on Whatnot is to find people who are not shopping to resell, but they're shopping for themselves, And I do think it takes a while to find that audience, and it does come with people showing up consistently with at least workable, like good items. And not everyone needs like really expensive stuff all the time. Like I think even your $10, $15 items, like if it's stuff that people need, like I think they'd be willing to shop for those items. But it's harder to find that audience because it is a lot of resellers on there just trying to scoop up a good deal. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's
So,
someone's birthday tomorrow and I got a notification. It's very loud.
so just like you're part time and you have a full time job. At one time, I was part time and I had a full time job, and I worked in a place where it was a union factory, so everybody almost made the same amount of money minus $1 or 2 either way,
Yeah.
but it was really uniform across the board. And while I was there, I was living a pretty good life because we worked 12-hour shifts, so I had 3, 4 days off every single week on how our
Mm,
schedule rotated. So I always got a lot of flack at work because I'd be working at this factory and then my wife would go on fall break from school and then I'd be in lay down seats to Italy while my
yeah.
other like coworkers were seeing it on Instagram or Facebook, like Sean's flying first class to Italy and
Yeah.
he makes the same
How are
amount of
you
money.
doing
And so
this?
I'd come back from work and anytime I'd have something nice and it'd be nice, like, oh, it must be nice to have all this eBay money. And then
Yeah.
there's people like you and people like me who are trying to show people that there are ways to make side money and live a good life. Like you and your husband are school teachers. It's a noble profession. My wife's a school teacher. You guys, you guys get paid. You guys aren't getting rich at work. Like
No.
my wife's not getting rich at work. She's a school teacher, but you can live a nice life by doing something like eBay or Poshmark or whatnot on the side. And
Mhm.
so, what are some like tips for people that are watching this who want just that little extra, like, and they want to jump into this? Like, what are the Becky Park top 5 tips you'd give them to like hop into this and make some side money? Because my comeback to any time someone in my family or someone I used to work with would be like, "Oh, it's nice to have all that extra money." I'd be like, "You have a eBay expert's phone number. You can do
Yeah.
what I'm doing and call me and ask me questions anytime you want. So you really have no excuse." And I'm always kind of like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps and
Mhm.
make whatever you want or make your dreams happen. So, and it always frustrated me when people would complain to me about the extra money and stuff. And I'm like, go do what I'm doing. I'm an open book. I
Yeah.
teach it all. Like, so what are your tips to people who are on that fence that want to like make that leap into like just a little extra money to make life a little easier and luxurious, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think with anything in life, the difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't is whether or not they're willing to be consistent. When it gets tough, when they're not seeing results, are you still going to show up for yourself, you know? And I mean, I preach the same thing to my students when it comes to like singing, and they're like, I want to be better. And I'm like, so are you putting in the work? Like, I don't understand. Like, you just want to wake up and be better? Like, that's not how it works. And I think, similar to you, like, I have friends and coworkers and people who are like, well, how do you do what you do? And I've even taken the time to sit down with some of them and explain, or with YouTube, you know, like I've had coworkers who are like, well, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, okay, but you have to be prepared to do so much work for like a year and see zero results, um, until things start kind of working in your favor. Like, are you willing to do that? And of course they're like, sure, yeah. But then when push comes to shove and they realize how much work it is and how little results they're seeing, they're over before they even get started, you know? And I think the first thing I would tell people is you have to keep doing it even when you feel like what you are doing is nothing. Like when you are listing things and you're not getting any views and people are not buying your stuff, like you just have to keep building your store. You just have to keep kind of practicing the art of listing. And it is so hard at the beginning, but you get faster and you get better at it. So the first thing I would say is consistency. Um, I think the second thing is like, again, for me, when I first started, I found this community really fast. I figured out, oh, there's like people sharing stuff on YouTube. There's like this whole Instagram community. But I think what almost derailed me right at the beginning was seeing people talk about like these huge numbers and seeing their huge package stacks. And I'm looking around and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know, like I feel like I'm doing everything they're telling me to do, and yet I'm not seeing the same kind of results that they're seeing. And to some degree, I think there is something really powerful and beautiful about finding people who are kind of like at the same point of their journey as you and doing things alongside them. That's something really beautiful that I saw happening on Facebook. Like I saw so many Facebook creators who were coming up at the same time, and everyone was out there like supporting everyone and shouting everyone out and trying to help everyone out, and just that sense of community of like, hey, it's okay. Like I've been doing this kind of at this, you know, for the same time as you have. And like I'm learning this, and I had this win today or this setback, or, you know, and just people kind of going through it together. And that was something that I was able to find pretty quickly when I first started on social media. It was not that far into my reselling journey. And so having those people to come up with, and even with YouTube, like Josh from Harry Tornado, like we started around the same time and we would like encourage one another. We would like be on each other, and his channel has like, phew,
Oh,
like
yeah.
just like, you know, shot past mine like crazy. But like having someone like him, and there was another guy named Josh that we like, I don't know, like we would just like talk to each other and we would do things together. And it was just really comforting to have other people to do things with. And so just finding people to, yeah, walk alongside, and having someone like a Sean in your corner who's like, you have my number. Like,
Yeah.
if you have any questions, you can ask me. Yeah, like trying to make myself available to people. And then I do have some friends who I told them about reselling and they're still doing it to this day. Like, there's a handful of friends of mine who have just like taken it and they've run with it, and it's not something that they're doing quite as much with. You know, they're not as like devoted to it as I am, but they're making great side money. Um, it just takes consistency. Like that's really the biggest thing. Even like not even when it gets hard. It's especially when it's good when it gets hard, you just have to keep at it, you know.
I think what a lot of people who aren't in this, when they see you on a teacher's salary taking a really nice vacation with your family, they're only seeing the vacation. They're not seeing the you listing while your kid's playing volleyball, or you staying up late on a school night to get your shipping knocked out to go out the next
Mhm.
morning. Or when I worked full time, I worked 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I'd get up at 4 a.m.,
Oh my
do my
gosh.
shipping, and then I was working after the post office even closed. So luckily my wife was really supportive. I would take
Mhm.
my packages at 4 in the morning, put them in her car. So when she
Yeah.
left school at 4 o'clock, she'd run them to the post office for me.
Yep.
Like they're not seeing that, or while they're playing Call of Duty on their off day at
Yes.
work, I was at the bins digging through trash or
Yep.
going to an auction. So
Yeah. Yeah,
think
there's a lot
it's
of sacrifice involved, but
mhm,
I also think I think some people have an incorrect conception of like how much sacrifice. Like I think some people wrongly assume like, oh, you just don't spend time with your kids, or oh, you just, whatever, like your whole life is this. And I think that's why it's really important to me. Like, even though I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I would like to accomplish blank, I usually end up accomplishing very little of that because of the fact that, yeah, if my friend is like, I want to hang out, or if the kids want to go somewhere, like I'm gonna do that. Like I want to live my life. I don't want to, just be behind my laptop all day, every day because I have like these different things I have to do. But also, it's a lot more of dying to myself then. It's a lot less like scrolling on Instagram for countless hours, or it's a lot less like me. I don't know. I don't even know what people do for fun. Like, like reading a book, or I don't know, like it's a lot less of like me doing those kinds of things, because if there is time and someone else doesn't want my time, then I'm going to spend that time, yeah, sourcing or listing or those kinds of things. But for sure, like something's got to give, right? Like we all have the same number of hours in a
yes.
day. And it's just choosing where those hours are going to go.
Like for me personally, there's not a current TV show that I'm caught up on or
Mhm.
actively watching and not missing an episode because I typically work during the day. I'll cross list in the evening after dinner or record a podcast and with someone like you or edit a video for social media.
Mhm.
So when you started, obviously you started selling part time before you started social media because it would
Mhm.
be weird if you started social media about
Yes.
reselling people. So what made you decide to start documenting it on YouTube? Because you've been on YouTube for quite a while, haven't you?
I have. I mean, I think it's similar to what you said at the very beginning. There's a lot of full-time resellers out there documenting their journey. And when I was so hungry for information on how to resell, I did. I found myself being so discouraged only seeing like full-timers numbers. And I was just like, I know better than to compare myself to this, but I don't have any other model of someone in a situation similar to mine? And I think that's when I was like, well, I guess I just have to be the one to do it. Like, I wanted to give like an honest, real life depiction of what one person's reselling journey looked like as someone who wasn't doing it with full-time hours. And also, like, I didn't see as many content creators who there weren't no, I mean there were a lot of female ones, but I definitely don't think I saw any Asian ones. So there was just like a lot of representation that I was like, I can sit here and complain about it, or I can decide to fill that gap a little bit. And so when I did start, which yeah, it was kind of a while ago now, I think I was just one of the first and very few part-timers to show up on YouTube, and I also think, like, I'm one of the few part-timers who have stuck with it this long. So, um, yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people will start with me because they relate to me a lot. They relate to my hours, they relate to the kind of stuff that I'm selling. And at some point I feel like they kind of outgrow me. I like graduate them and then they move on to people who are doing it full time and they're like a lot more like business oriented. But mine is like, hey, like just find some stuff in your closet. Like let's like list some things. And people are like, okay. And like I think I'm just very like beginner friendly. And then at some point they're like, okay, I think I can do more than like what this girl is doing, which is great. Like I love that. And it feels like the way I graduate my seniors and I'm like, bye, good luck in college. And like I graduate some of these sellers onto doing bigger and better things. And that's really cool.
Why I wanted to do this podcast because I was sitting there thinking my first three episodes, the guests, I think this year are projected. If you combine the first three guests, they're projected to do $1.2 million between the three of them
Yeah.
this year. And I'm like, I can't preach like pull yourself up from the boost. You got to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
whether you're working a job you like and you just want to take that really nice vacation or for extra opportunities for your kids, there's a Becky Park out there. If you're in a job that you hate, like I was in, and you wanted to do something, there's a me out there who can document
Yeah.
how I went from nothing or a job I hated to living a pretty good life, and that's why I wanted to have you on because I wanted to appeal to everybody and show everybody that you don't always have to be the grind like I am and listing $1,000 every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You can list a few times a week and still take that nice vacation or a cruise or
Yeah.
volleyball camp for your kids or so I kind of just wanted to show.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Where can people find you on social media?
On YouTube, no, I think on Instagram, I'm Becky Park on Poshmark, but I think everywhere else, I'm generally just Becky Park. So if you search Becky Park, you'll probably see my face somewhere on
Yeah,
that account.
she's everywhere, guys.
I try. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips, he teach fire Tims and killer tips. Buyer, sellers, wheel and deal. Real stories, keep it real. Snag a bargain, flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.